Coincidence that Britain exits the EU and becomes independent when Independence Day Resurgence comes out? I think not. I'm Ryan, your host of The Toast, and before I start talking about this movie, I gotta complain about loud eaters in movie theaters that you happen to be sitting right beside. It's one thing to quietly munch on a handful of popcorn like during an action scene, but when it comes to like important dialogue and all you can hear is, "Go quietly into the night, we will not vanish without a fight. Today, we celebrate our independence." F*** you and anyone else who eats that f***ing loudly. Okay, now we can talk about Independence Day Resurgence. Now, Resurgence takes place 20 years after the original Independence Day. Pretty much, we've spent the time getting ready for a sequel invasion. In that time, we've merged our technology with alien technology and creating some pretty badass looking jet fighters. I actually kind of like the helicopters in this movie, even though I guess they're not called helicopters anymore. They're just floaty buses. So the aliens have returned. The aliens who I don't believe have a name, at least it's not ever mentioned in the movie, or we don't even designate them as anything. They're just the aliens. They show up to Earth in a much, much bigger ship and no clear motivation whatsoever. The first time it was simple, oh, they must be interested in our planet for its resources. This time, no, they're basically making a stop to refuel. And in the meantime, go hunting for balls. A lot of the runtime in this movie is devoted to trying to explain what happened in the past 20 years. Problem is, it doesn't show you what happened in the last 20 years. It's just all said with exposition, and the exposition just killed it. Seriously, every character at some point had a conversation where it's like, hey, remember what happened in the past 20 years? Hey, remember that time you almost killed that guy? Hey, remember this battle that doesn't mean anything plot-wise for this movie, but we're gonna bring it up anyway? Remember when we met during the thing? Remember when your father died? He was a great man. Remember when I got this job in the White House? Remember last time I got in trouble driving recklessly in a spaceship? No, we don't! It's your job to tell us this organically in the story. The first film told the backplot of all the characters in it really smoothly, and just give you these little tidbits of information that the audience can easily piece together. The original Independence Day had the benefit of being a slower paced movie, at least for the first half of it, so you got to follow along with these characters and learn about them naturally. Whereas characters in Resurgence are as stereotypical as you get. Just repeat characters you get in every action-adventure movie, such as screw-up hotshot, important president's daughter love interest, avenging son of fallen hero, comic relief, or my favourite, stoic diversity hire badass. They're so stereotypically cookie cutter, in fact, that you can see exactly where their path is going to lead in this film, and it really does cut down on the tension. I will give some of the characters credit. When there are deaths in this movie, they have a quick mope, and then they get on with their business. I mean, the whole world's at stake. But I love returning cast members like Bill Pullman and Jeff Goldblum. Who doesn't love Jeff Goldblum? But shoehorning in Goldblum's father for a pointless side story just crippled the tone of the movie. Speaking of tone, the first movie did a great job of having an ominous, haunting, heavy tone. But Resurgence just doesn't imbue you with that kind of high-stakes situation. It was just in such a rush to get to the third movie in the franchise that nothing felt threatening. Also, Dr. Oaken is back. After being in a coma for 20 years. I guess Baldwin's just not very good at taking a pulse. 20 years in a coma, his body is not atrophied, and he suddenly knows how to use all the technological advancements the human race has made in 2 decades. Also, he has a sporty little neck scarf number, which I got a feeling that he's actually has that to hide his neck. Like I think Brent Spiner might be self-conscious of his neck or something, because he's getting on. And I wonder if he, that was in his contract, I have to wear a scarf. Make an excuse for me to have a scarf. Technology in this movie, technological advancements of the human race, is one of the more interesting parts of the film for sure. I mean, just seeing how they've emulated the alien tech and merged it with the human tech. Like the big laser from the alien ships from the first movie is now basically plonked in the satellite dish and they just aim it as their defense system. The shields, though, the shield technology felt very inconsistent of what it could hold, what it could handle, what could bring them down. They do have alien blasters in this one too, and we never got a hint of alien blasters or handguns in the first movie. So that is something completely new for this one, and it does look a little odd when the biosuits are walking around with cannons. No, I love the aliens from the first movie, and like in Alien, this is going to get confusing. Like in the movie Alien, you never got to see the creature until late in the game, and like the aliens in Independence Day, it was the same thing. You didn't get to see them until later on, so they were always this ominous, mysterious force. They were this horrible, daunting, unseen threat, and when you finally did get to see them, they were this really awesome practical effects monster. They looked big and threatening, even though when the head opened up, I gotta admit my girlfriend went, oh, they look so cute, and I gotta admit, they're kind of adorable. But Resurgence aliens, they just don't look threatening when they're rendered in CGI. I think it's something about how they just move and squirm so much in this one where you can't really do it as well with a practical effect, and the limit of movement in a practical effect is what makes it look real. Also, it's the way the aliens are portrayed in this film. In the original, they had like slow pans in on the aliens as if they were characters instead of freaks in a sideshow. Especially the Queen, when she's out of the biosuit, she looked awful. She looked more like an alien than an Independence Day alien. In the original, they were kind of like cool, shimmery silver aliens, but this time they're kind of brown and sludgy. They literally look like shit. Even in the biosuit, the big monstrous Queen suffers from the same ailment that all big giant monsters seem to have, which is the inability to catch a car. Honestly, have you ever seen a dog trying to catch a ball or a frisbee where it's bouncing around between its legs and it just can't quite get a bead on it? Yeah, it's like any other giant monster. They just cannot catch a car, even though it's driving a straight frickin' line. I do appreciate that you got to see the alien Queen in broad daylight and not nighttime, though, so you actually did get to see all of it. And for her benefit, when she's in the bio armor, yeah, that's a cool looking monster. A minor point to mention is the music. I have to mention the music because Independence Day had some great music. I mean, their theme, they managed to stretch that theme and play it in all kinds of different ways throughout the film. And it was really poignant. It really did lift you up during the speeches. It really did bring you down during the quiet moments. Independence Day Resurgence, you get like a little bit of that original theme. The rest of it is just kind of generic action movie music. Honestly, you can see Independence Day Resurgence grasping for the glory of the original film, but every time it does, it just seems to fall flat. The original Independence Day, I love the original Independence Day. I've watched it again recently, and it holds up. I think it holds up fine. There is so much little story bits and a little backstory. Everything that comprises Independence Day is solid and subtle, not in your face, and it gives the freedom of the whole movie to play out around the main characters. It's great because the aliens are the antagonists, yet they're never really present, so you spend all this time with the good guys and the heroes. The original also feels like it's two movies. I mean, the first half of Independence Day is a slow build-up to one hell of a horrific event. I mean, it really builds this horrible tension and dwelling, and that you cannot do anything to stop this. And then once you got the massive destruction scene, it completely flips into a very proactive, okay, what are we going to do about this? They've hit us hard, we've got to fight back, we've got to win the day. Win the day with some 1996 Top Gun dogfighting. Also some witty quips and banter that actually landed. As it says, this time without the oops. It's hard to do an alien invasion movie. You've only got two kinds, really. You've got the slow invasion, which is like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, where just subtle things are happening and it's a lot more personal and creepy. And then you've got large-scale invasions by a big technological pounding from space. Then you've got the problem if it's a big high-tech civilization that's attacking us, they can wipe us out easily, and in much more effective ways than to nuke our cities, which makes the big-budget alien invasion movies a lot harder to do because you have to circumvent the practicalness of wiping out humanity in order to have a big, fun action movie. That's where the original Independence Day does really well, because you don't really care that there are other ways to wipe out humanity. It's a good story, it's a suspenseful story, it gives you everything you want. It also gives you a very clear enemy. I mean, when they first meet the aliens in Independence Day and they talk to each other through the glass, the aliens simply say that we don't want peace, we want you all to die. As soon as that's said, there's a very clear direction. There's no guilt at all, there's no question. These are the bad guys, we've got to wipe them out. It's very rare you get that much of a clean-cut villain, let alone a race of them. All the 20 years of story that lead to this movie, it just seems cobbled together and completely unnecessary. Seriously, most of the stuff has nothing to do with the events of this film. There is fun to be had here, and I did enjoy Independence Day Resurgence for the most part. But it does feel like a kid has been given a random box of action figures and is just made to make something cool happen with them. That's why I gotta say this movie is just beans on toast. I will give it props for keeping the timeline in conjunction with ours. I think that really did benefit the movie, and especially keeping it relatable. But the problem is, it's a classic case of this is trying to live up to the original, and unfortunately it just doesn't do it. Anyway, if you want to see more from me, click away, and I will catch you next time. Cheers.